Something that I kind of touched on, when we started this episode, was, when I go on those little walks and those little breaks, like not going with your phone or looking at something that stimulates you or whatever. But I think unplugging from technology is essential in trying to unwind.
Don't think
there's one part of this that I kind of struggle with at just a certain part of the day. And I guess it's just because kind of the way we were, I don't want to say brought up, but for me, it's like, because you told me this, like, I was supposed to watch TV before a certain amount of time for bed, but that's how that's how I unwind to go to bed.
But I think you think that.
Sure.
But there's probably science. Someone else.
I'm sure there's a better way that I can.
There definitely is.
I wouldn't disagree there.
The coach from Growth Day also says, I can't remember the exact numbers, but he says like 3 hours before bed, no eating, so stop eating 3 hours before bed, 2 hours before bed, no phones, and 1 hour before bed, no TV. And it really allows your mind to, because we don't allow our minds to process the day, but not even just that. You have no idea think about the conversations that we have when we don't have the TV on. And what I've been doing lately with the kids, like when we're I'm starting the dinner process, because half the time if they're watching TV as I'm making dinner, when I say, hey, dinner's ready, it's like a huge fight having to turn off the TV. So I've just been saying like, oh, we're not going to do TV until after mealtime, but then after mealtime it's bath. So it's giving your brain that time to process, and the conversations that occur without technology is extremely important. And I think for your work, what you've been doing lately is utilizing the do not disturb feature
on my phone. I literally just started doing that a few weeks ago.
And I think it's really funny because again, like I've said a million times, I'm a talker. I sometimes just like I just like randomly will say like, I don't know,
what's on your
there's
mind.
A frog outside. That's just kind of how our conversations go throughout the day. And you won't even tell me anymore like, hey, I'm putting on do not disturb. It's just when I have like a squirrel text message moment and I see your notifications are on, it helps me. It's a boundary for me. Like we were talking before. Yeah. And it helps you get through whatever you need to do. So you're not technically turning off your technology, but you're turning off the technology that might be a distraction.
Yeah. And I think also in doing that, like if you're always constantly talking to me throughout the day, even if it's positive things or whatever, it doesn't give us much to do when we get home. It's kind of like, that's why there's so much maybe silence during certain times. It's just like, we've been talking all day long. What do you mean?
And I was going to say, that's something I've actually I've loved seeing. I don't know. It's kind of like fun. I tell my partner too, like I'm like, oh, his notifications are on. I gotta save that for later. But it's funny because I tell the kids the same thing. They want to interrupt or say something, right? And I'm like, oh, now's not the right time. If you can remember it at the end of the day, these are my students, I tell them, if you can remember it by the end of the day before you get on the bus or leave for the day, then it's important enough to tell me. Yeah. And if you can't, then I guess it was just one of those squirrely thoughts. And I'm teaching myself that at the same time, because if I don't remember it by the time I get home to talk to you, then it wasn't that important.
Well, I think the technology thing is still something that a lot of people struggle with just because of how prominent it is in our society. Mm-hmm. And it's just a big hurdle that I think
but that's where that discipline comes in. I mean, they're throwing out all of this technology to us on a daily, moment basis, but you have to have the discipline to determine like when to take the breaks, when to not be on it,
Well, you know how like the fashion things go in like the 30-year waves or whatever? Yeah. Like, can you imagine if like 30 years from now, it's kind of like you're on your phone all the time? Like, that would be cool. That kind of stuff. If something like that happens, that would be kind of cool. But
it allows you to be focused on whatever it is that you're doing. Like just your family, focus on that. Your business, you focus on that. Your tasks at work, you're focused on that.
And I think hyper-focusing is what really moves the needle in any part of life.
Because like I've said to you a million times, you can't do it all. And you definitely can't do it all at the same time. No matter what kind of multitasker you think you are, trust me, I think that about myself. You're definitely just kind of half-assing it all at the same time,